So I'm just going to recap on these. One is the ANSOF matrix. So we talked about market penetration, new product development, market development, and diversification, and how when you mix those in that matrix, you will see on the right-hand side on the bottom that it is increasing risk. So there we want to see where, in terms of marketing and your direction, they will increase risk. Diversification is the highest risk for new products and new markets, which makes sense. So that is the ANSOF matrix. The Barrett market segmentation model. We went through this again last time, but to bring it to your attention is resources and focus here on the left-hand side, available resources and level of customer focus. On the right-hand side, we've got growth in the market and innovation of the market. So that is growth and stability. Price and value, you've got down on the left-hand side here, which is expectations of price, expectations of quality. And then on the right, we've got market saturation and supply and demand. So these are the segments that you might break down for your marketing plan or strategy, or when you're directing your marketing for your organization. And what we mean by that is what resources and focus is there. So what are our available sources now, or sorry, resources now, and what do our customers want? So do we know what our customers want? Have we researched that? Have we gained that feedback from them? Working with a company recently who have no feedback from their customers at all, which is highly irregular, but we're working on that now. Growth and stability. So we want to obviously grow the market, which is from innovation. Innovation can be overlooked in organizations because of the operational workload. But it is something that if it's not included in your marketing, then you're standing still. And if you're standing still, your competitors are improving or innovating around you. If you innovate, then you obviously will start to grow within the market. Expectations of price and value, kind of self-explanatory there, but we need to make sure that people talk about price being high or low, or quality is high and low, but in reality, what we want to is that what is our customers expecting to pay? What is the psychology behind what they're going to pay? It could be value. Often it can be the brand, or often it can be that somebody has the market monopoly. So the expectation of price and value wouldn't be as high up on your priority list. Competition, obviously, very self-explanatory. Is the market saturated with the same products? Often the research for competitors are on what is similar to your product, but it can be also what can be substituted for your product, or what could they do instead of buying your product or products or services. So, and always remember on competition is that competition is also, we have to be aware that they do nothing. So if I'm going to buy a car and you are doing the research in terms of competition, you're researching a similar car type. What you might not research is the possibility of continuing to use public transport or other means of transport, or climate change. A lot of people are starting to use bikes, the electric scooters, or they just might not buy a new car. So we have to make sure that all of those are in that matrix. And then attractiveness and competitiveness. So what attracts us? What makes us buy that car or that can of fizzy juice? Is it attractive? Are we going to buy an unattractive, dull product if that's the market that we're going for? And the competitiveness, which goes back to growth in the market, innovation, the available resources, level of customer focus, expectation of price, expectation of quality, market saturation, and supply and demand. So we have to take those 4, red, green, blue, and yellow into consideration to make sure it's competitive. Otherwise, we need to go back to our operations and if the products and services are the right products and services for our market. Okay, we talked about our consumer decision-making process. So we need the consumer to recognize their need. So I need a new diary. Do I need a new diary? Why do I need a new diary? So we need to make sure our products are answering those types of questions. We're going to search for a new diary. Do I want a full page one, a small one, pocket one, online one? You know, what am I looking for there? The evaluation of alternatives could be an online one as opposed to a paper copy. It could be not to get one, to use our phones. So we need to make sure that the consumer wants what we have and the alternatives might meet the criteria. Then we decide to purchase. And in this instance, we want to ensure that they are purchasing our products and services. And then this is often the step that organizations do not do well, or they don't do at all. So they think they're getting feedback, but in reality, they may be putting a survey out with the questions that are easy answered to make our results look good, but doesn't give us a true picture of what our customers feel about our products and services. So when we're coming to post-purchase evaluation, we need to talk to our customers in an honest way and try and get their feedback. So often you'll see, was the product good? Did it meet the price expectation? But in those types of questions as a yes or no, or a sliding scale, but there is more psychology that should be put into that evaluation to make sure that they are led to give us more in detail feedback or evaluation information. Marketing SWOT. I've used this just this week for an organization. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is a fantastic tool for any part of an organization, and it's particularly good for marketing. And I've given you some idea of what type of questions that you would ask there. So I'm not going to go through them all because we did it on the last one. But for example, we'll take expertise. So our strength, do we have the right expertise? Yes. In what areas? In innovation, transport, procurement, management, factory, machinery, product development. Weaknesses, expertise, what are we lacking here? So really, it's great to see the strengths, but what we need to see is the weaknesses, because those are the areas that then we can plan to make those into strengths. So a lot of expertise, like for example, would be in leadership and management or innovation. Those are the two areas that are often left out of this, of the strengths or of the staff skill set. And therefore we need to look at how we would implement those. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So this gives us a good idea in terms of how society, people, humans, whatever you want to name them, work. This is a tried and tested method across a number of different leadership and management subjects that I teach. So at the very basic one here is biological and physiological. We move into safety. So once the need on the bottom is met, then they will move up into safety. And then when that is met, they will move up into love and belonging. And when that is met, esteem and self-actualization. Self-actualization is rare for people to fill potential, and also differs obviously from people to people, different people. A lot of people will move up and down this triangle. Could be years for some people, moving slowly up and up and up. It could be somebody who goes up and down, up and down. We saw a lot of people in the pandemic, for example, who probably never got to the bottom of that triangle, suddenly genuinely worried about food and how our utilities and water, etc., would be affected by the pandemic, and then our jobs, our health, obviously finances. So you would see there in the pandemic very easily how somebody would move up and down that triangle. Our pestle for marketing. So this is more not, you could do strengths and weaknesses within this, each one. So what's your political strengths, what are your political weaknesses, what are your political opportunities, and what's your political threats, for example. So I have a lot of students that would intertwine those two models. In terms of this, it is to be aware of the factors. So what political decisions will implement on your marketing or your organization. So we talked earlier that if we're promoting alcoholic drinks and the government decide to do a campaign of marketing on the dangers of drinking alcohol, so that political decision would have an impact on our marketing. Economic would be anything to do with money or with the economy. So again, if we were using buses to advertise our market, our organization, and the price of diesel has gone up significantly, and then the price for the marketing on those buses may significantly increase, and therefore that's an economic factor that we need to be aware of, and so forth. Porter forces, another great model and a theory to use. There you will find lots of information on all of these on the internet or various sources, I'm sure. Porter's 5 forces: threat of new entrants, supplier power, threat of substitution, buyer power, and then the existing competitor rivalry. Now there's a few different ideas around Porter, but that isn't the main 5 forces that we should be taking into consideration and ensuring that we're analysing it correctly and we are detailing the research around it. And finally, the 7 P's of marketing. So price, promotion, physical evidence, people, product, process, and place. So we need to look at, is it the right price? Is it the right place to promote it? Is it physically able to be seen or absorbed or communicated? Who's involved in that? Is the product the right product to be marketing at that particular target market? Is the process providing the right product that we need, quality that we need? Is the process too expensive? And then the price is something that we need to change, and all these will interact with each other. So the 7 P's marketing mix and the consumer decision-making theories help you understand customer desires and overall business goals. The SWOT analysis and Porter's 5 forces let you tackle internal and external forces affecting your campaigns. Market segmentation and Maslow's theory help you understand how to craft effective campaign content. Okay. I'm just going to pause there and see if there is any questions on those theories. Okay. So we're going to go to marketing analytics now. So marketing analytics could really have a whole 2 sessions on its own, as any analytics would. Marketing analytics, on the left-hand side here we have customer analytics. So what research and data do we need to gain? Segmentation, so who, where, what, how, is it 18 to 24-year-old females? Is it families? Is it people who own dogs? Is it people that want to foster children? Inside that, where are they geographically, demographically, financially? So there's a segmentation that we need to break those down. Normally the three would be income, demographics, and geographical locations. It's the easiest way to segment your customers. So cohort analysis. So where do they belong? Who are their cohorts? Is there a group of university students in England that will be, you could use the same marketing campaign as a group of university students in Scotland? And so we want to look at the cohort analysis. Consumer lifetime value. So that is pretty self-explanatory, but you know, is your customer going to continue buying off you on a repeat purchase? If they're not, why not? If they are, how do you keep engaging with that customer? You know, are they, is it, you know, toys, for example? So where are we targeting? We're targeting the children from terms of the TV to get to parents and guardians. We are looking at parents and guardians at certain times of the year. But is there a customer lifetime value that they will then stop purchasing toys when their children are of teenage years? And then will they, in the cycle, will they start to purchase for others? Grandparents, grandchildren? So where do we put our resources and where do we put our focus on them? If it's someone who is a football fan, the customer lifetime value will probably be their entire lifetime. So they will continue to buy the new kit, or they'll continue to buy the accessories or their season ticket. You know, so that is a customer lifetime value. So we want to look at where they keep coming back to us and what value that is to us as an organization. Customer lifestyles analysis. So here we're looking at, if me as a teenager will buy L'Oreal makeup, as I get older, will I continue to buy L'Oreal products? And which of those products should I be targeted with? So if I'm buying very strong makeup when I was in the 90s as a child, and now in my older ages, they should be targeting me with eye cream or anti-wrinkle cream, or you know, a cream for older skin, maybe a different type of foundation, maybe not as trendy colors, softer colors. So that's in terms of our lifetime, the customer life cycle analysis, and on how we meet those customer needs. So the methodology here is statistics, which is easy. You know, how can we get that statistics and from where? Testing, so audience testing. Do they want to look at, you know, A or B? Machine learning models. That's more of a, that's more of a analytical tools that we want to gain information, and then market and analytic models. So we want to look at the types of modeling we might do. Now on the right hand side here, I've put some technical tools. I am not a technical person, so I've only really used Google Analytics and Salesforce, but there's a few other that somebody in digital marketing told me I should include in this. So that is there's a few technical tools in terms of gathering data. Google obviously is the main one we would use for an overview. If we're not marketing managers, or we're not involved in intense marketing. Salesforce is another one where we're gathering our buyers' information and we're looking at the customer analytics and the methodology. Throat's going a little bit. Okay, so in this one, we're looking at different data sources in marketing. So I've put some in here. in terms of gathering data. We can't really use the methodology or the models until we gather data. And data is something that particularly small to medium-sized businesses don't have the capacity to do. When we go into the larger organizations, they will have, you know, departments and specialists in these areas. But as long as we have a good knowledge of this, so when I work with a small business or a medium-sized business, when I go through the different data sources, most of them won't be, they won't be getting this analytics, but the analytics are there for the taking, and it is very valuable to an organization. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at customer information. So we're looking at demographic data, interests and preferences, customer timeline value or lifetime value, and propensity to purchase. So those are the types of customer information that we would gather. Data is customer acquisition cost. So what can the customer afford? Is it the right target market? Historical pricing. So, you know, what was it 10 years ago? What was it 20 years ago? Is it keeping up with the interest and inflation rates? Salary increases. So we need to look at historical pricing. Price to earning ratio. So that's pretty self-explanatory. And monthly recurring revenue. So for example, I have 3 dogs, as you can hear in the background, and we get a bag of dog food delivered to the house by Amazon every month. So they have a recurring revenue from me. And there will be repeated things like that: magazine subscriptions, your Tesco's or your Asda, your supermarket shopping might be a monthly or weekly recurring revenue. So those are the things that they hold that data on me. Campaign performance, so the churn rate, conversion rate, engagement rate, click-through rate, and bounce rate. So, you know, where are they seeing it in terms of the churn rate, conversion rate, where if they're buying, are they buying, are they engaging, are they clicking through? Just, I think something like the average click-through rate now is 30 seconds because we're bombarded with so much online information. And then the bounce rate, so what bounce backs do we get? There was a story, John Lewis, department store in the UK, who were getting such a bad bounce rate that because people kept going, buying a suit and the shirt and a tie, and then at the end it'll say, you know, here is shoes that you might want to go with this suit, and the customer was going back onto the main website, and then they were losing the customers on their analytics. So what they did was they changed the whole checkout to like a grayed out area, and there was no continue shopping or suggestions of additional products, and they found that increased some of their bounce rate analytics. Okay, so customer behavior, transaction history. This is one that's easy done by any smaller medium business. What are different types of people buying from where? Are they buying the same product over and over? Are they using the same service over and over? Are they increasing the transaction value? Are they lowering the transaction value? So that one is a really good one for most organizations to get involved with. Website behavior. We all have the website reports that get sent to us from our hosting. I get mine. Don't really know much about it because I don't get a lot of website traffic. But I have worked with a number of organizations that get great analytics from mobile app usage, same as website, it's just mobile app. And then spending patterns. Again, are we looking at increased spending patterns? Are we looking at decreasing? Is it seasonal? Is it after an ad campaign? Is it continual and just steady? Those are the kind of things we want to look at. Customer feedback, so social media feedback, ratings and rankings, inbound calls, chatbot interactions, call center notes, and survey data. Just to mention the survey data, that's what I was talking about earlier, is that sometimes well, a lot of the times actually the questionnaires and the feedback are so generic that they won't give you real feedback in terms of, 95 satisfaction rate, because the person has been asked the wrong questions or the right questions, depending on what you want the outcome. I suppose for your stakeholders and investors, that's a good idea in terms of genuinely improving your marketing and therefore your sales, and therefore you're continuing to innovate. In my view, you should be asking the right questions. And then market research, so market forecasts, industry benchmarks, and competitive data. So that gives you an idea in terms of data sources in marketing. Okay, so here's some of the marketing communications mix. So we've got advertising, sales promotion, events and experiences, PR and publicity, direct marketing, interactive marketing, and personal selling. So this is general marketing communication mix. Ideally, we would want to be doing something in all of these. We could break each one down further in terms of what type of advertising. We go back to using our analytics, go back to using Porter forces. We can go back to our strengths and weaknesses within each of these marketing areas. So it can be all very much entwined and very interesting, especially from a marketing point of view. And sometimes it can be a bit overload depending on the organization, but I think it's great. So sorry about the blurry picture here. I don't know what happened to it, but this is marketing strategy process. So a strategic marketing mix. So we need to understand our customer. We need to analyze the market, analyze the competition. We need to do research distribution. We need to define the marketing mix, which we've just talked about. We've looked at the financial analysis. That's in terms of the cost of the product, the resources involved, the time involved, the marketing costs, the sales costs, the transport costs. And then it can also be financial analysis in terms of the marketing costs and what is working, where is it working, if we're wasting money on campaigns in a different area and we're not getting the right feedback. So if I've spent £10,000 on a radio campaign and I'm not analysing whether first the people are buying from that source, second, the costs are valuable to me, I'm hitting the right market, is it the right times of the day, is it the right show, demographics, geographically, is it the right audience, and all of those things need to come together. And is that the right way to market the product that costs this amount of money? So, and then review and revise. So we should be continually going through this, especially when we're talking about strategic marketing. We need to make sure we're continually going through this cycle all of the time. In my view, a marketing team should be sitting down once a month and going through whichever model, data analytics and marketing mix they choose or mix it up. That should be a discussion every month with the marketing team to make sure they're continually reviewing the entire cycle of marketing. So this is just another element of marketing strategy. You want to go through your existing marketing plan. So a lot of times somebody will tell me they have a marketing plan and they don't. But if you do have an existing one, no matter how simple or complicated or comprehensive it is a living, working document, and we should be referring to it in those monthly meetings. We want to perform market research, develop your value proposition. So what are you offering, why, how, where, and when? Is it the right thing that we're offering? Is it the right service or product that we're offering? Setting marketing goals, so that's KPIs, using the SMART model in terms of goals, profits, sales, additional product purchase, audience reach, Make sure the demographics correct. You know, there's lots of different marketing goals that you can add in there. And then you want to define your marketing strategy. So often you'll find a marketing strategy, and then you'll find smaller strategies within that marketing. You need to define your marketing mix, create your marketing plan, and then review and reassess, and then continue the cycle again. So I will just pause there to make sure that, has anyone any questions? I get too carried away with marketing sometimes. Okay. So marketing planning process. So what is our mission statement? So let's go back to basics here. What is our mission statement? What do we want to do? Do we want to be the most visible used car sales marketing in the country? Do we want to be the top over 50 moisturizing distribution expert? Identify opportunities. Oh, sorry, corporate objectives. So are we meeting our climate change objectives? Are we meeting our skills matrix in terms of staff? Are we developing our organizations? You know, but we want to make sure that this is actually towards marketing, or will end up going into operations and other areas. So situation analysis. So identify opportunities. What are our opportunities here? Where can we look at marketing? Where are our audiences? The 5 C's analysis: company, customers, competitors, collaborators, and climate. SWOT analysis, which we've talked about. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We need to go through those. Pest analysis. So this is the same as pestle analysis, just the pest analysis is a bit more comprehensive. Political, economic, social, and technical. Then our marketing strategy, step 3. So define your audience, your target audience. This can be quite an extensive exercise, and it should be reviewed constantly. We need to set measurable goals. So if you want to have a look at the SMART, if you haven't seen it before, SMART goals theory or model. Develop your budget for your marketing. Then we want to look at step 4, which is your marketing mix. So your product development, your pricing, promotion, and place and distribution. So it's very self-explanatory there. Have we got the right product development? Are we developing the right products? The pricing, is it correct? The promotion, and is it the right place and distribution? And then implementation and control. So put the plan into action. You need to communicate that plan. Who are the decision makers in that plan? Who are the key players in that plan? What timeline are we going to work on in terms of the plan? And then we have to monitor the results. Very, very, very often we get through the whole planning process, and then the results, which is data that we are creating ourselves within our organization, is not used in terms of data analytics. Okay, so just want to check if no questions. Okay, so just going to touch on this is marketing strategy versus marketing plan. So what's the difference? Marketing strategy is a long-term delivery of company mission, business goals, and support. Marketing plan is short-term, it's campaign level tactics, and it's a marketing strategy support. So you might have a marketing strategy that might be 3 years long with strategic goals, overall objectives, but then you might break those down into 3, 6, 9, 12-month plans, which is a good approach to any marketing strategy that you might have. So evaluating strategies, we need to assess the performance, so it's economic performance and organizational effectiveness. We need to identify any gaps that are there, and then we need to find options which are suitable, acceptable, and feasible. And then we go back to assessing the performance. So that's a very basic model, but it actually is incredibly effective. So we need to make sure that we're the monetary and economic performance of any marketing campaign that we put out, and is it effective within the organization or externally? And if it's not, why is it not? And then we need to look at evaluation options. Oh, okay. So this week I'm going to take a break. Okay, so we've just done evaluating strategies. This is your assignment for this module. Learners may use their own employment context or that of another organization with which they are very familiar to base their assignment. However, in the case that they're not able to do so, please use the below scenario. You are a senior manager leading the marketing department of an organization. Your team is responsible for identifying and delivering a market plan that supports your organizational directives. Okay, so what is our first area here? Whether you're using your own employment context or you're using this scenario, beware of these here. So we're looking at, you are a senior manager. I would assume that most of you are senior managers or in senior management roles. You are leading the marketing department, so that might be within your own organization. You might not be in a marketing department. So if you're not, my suggestion is go around and speak to the marketing department and to ensure that you have a good understanding of what they do or what they don't do. So remember the strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats now that you're learning about strategic marketing. Your team is responsible for identifying. So what do we mean by identifying? We're looking at the market research, the analytics that we were talking about, the customer life cycle, the customer lifetime, Google stats, social media feedback. So looking for identifying the areas that you need to target and then deliver a marketing plan based on that. And then you need to ensure that you include your organizational objectives. So make sure that if you did the strategic direction assignment or you listen to the sessions on organizational or strategic direction, we talk about the organizational objectives. So you will have possibly a mission statement, possibly a vision statement, possibly both. And then you will have normally organizations have between 3 and 8 objectives. So make sure that you include some of those in reference to your marketing. So your first question here, 1.1, is critically evaluate how marketing techniques and tools can support the strategy of an organization and how it impacts on the marketing plan. So what techniques are we looking at there? We're looking at the methods and models that we talked about. So you might use SWOT, you might use pest analysis, you might use Porter forces. Those are probably the 3 main ones. Your customer decision making is another one that's good for this. So the little notes here is that you need to critically evaluate. What do we mean by critically evaluate? We mean you need to break down you need an introduction. You need to look at what's working and what's not working. You need additional external evidence to back up your points that you're making. So critically evaluate a range of marketing tools, techniques, and principles that can be deployed to support general organizational strategy. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult to separate marketing and organizational strategy, because inevitably they're intertwined. So try and make sure that you tackle both sides of this. Make sure you mention marketing tools, techniques, and principles. Make sure you answer the question. Make sure that you bring in points of your organizational strategy. Exploration of marketing orientation will be of value here. So what is the types of marketing you want to explore? And summative, explore how these techniques impact on marketing planning. Organizational are increasing deploying marketing concepts in functional areas in a seamless fashion to benefit the organization. So where are we putting the marketing concepts? Why are we putting them in there? How does finances or recruitment have any impact on the marketing or for the benefits of the organization? What do we mean by that? If we have marketing in which everyone in the advert looks sad, then that doesn't help when it comes to recruitment. Remember, marketing is the sign above the door in the decades ago. This is what every stakeholder sees in terms of the organization. So whether it's recruitment, whether it's a third party that wants to work with you, whether it's an investor or stakeholder, whether it's a partnership, whether it's a supplier that might want to, all of those things, that the marketing is key to a lot of that, because that will be the first touch that they have with your organization. So marketing concepts can be often concentrated on products and services. However, remember that there is lots of other areas that marketing of your organization can influence and impact. So just a wee bit about critical analysis. So you want to make sure that you've knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and then evaluation. Always go with the evaluation as well. So this is what we're talking about in terms of your answer. So you're critically evaluating these. Descriptive writing here on the left states what happened, states what something is like, lists details, states the order in which things happen, and says how to do something. When you're critically analyzing, it identifies a significance, evaluates the strengths and weaknesses, evaluate relevant significance of details. So that's where you want to bring in your external sources. Remember to reference those sources correctly. You want to make reasoned judgments. What does that mean? It means in the real world, will it happen? If you decide to make that judgment or you make that statement, then you back it up with evidence and argue a case according to the evidence. So what we want to argue are strengths or weaknesses, our opportunities and our limitations, but we want to make sure that we evidence our argument. I did my degree in history, so mine had to be very clear in terms of this, that if I was answering whether war or love were more prevalent between 1534 and 1730, then I had to argue for both sides of that. So you need to look at both sides of your argument. Okay, 1.2. Determine how key marketing methodologies and approaches contribute towards market planning within diverse organizations. So we'll take what you've talked about in 1.1 and you want to drop it into 1.2. So how does that work? How do those methods work? How do the information in those methods and those models help you in terms of marketing planning? Diverse organizations is key here as well. So it is organizations with a number of products or services. So therefore, do you look at a marketing methodology for a group of services? So you might be an insurance broker or you might be a mortgage person, and you want to look at marketing methodologies for different insurances, like, is the marketing for my insurance products, what's the strengths and weaknesses, what's the opportunities and threats? At my mortgage products or services, what are my strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats? You know, is one side of your business more stronger, and is one side of your business stronger than the other in terms of identity, in terms of profile, in terms of goals? Is it stronger because of the expertise that you have? Is it stronger because of the marketing budget? Let's bring it back down to brass tacks. So we need to look at diverse organizations. So make sure that you mention that within your answer. There's just a note here at the bottom. So determine marketing methodologies and approaches that contribute to a marketing plan within complex organizations. So determine marketing methodologies and approaches that contribute to a marketing plan within complex. So it's a very similar, you know, question there. Okay, address risk associated with the marketing plan. So detail the component part of the plan, considering your organizational context is complex. Ensure that the components parts are sufficiency to address complexity. Perform a risk assessment or other methodology of your choice. Put in place a contingency plan to address the identified risk. Include this within the action statement. A project approach may be considered as a means of implementation of your identified actions and contingencies. So what it's saying here is you have detailed your marketing plan. It's all great in theory. Here's the document, here's our timeline, here's our action plan, here are the key people that are involved. But what happens if that one of those key people leave, go to a competitor, or out long-term sick? What happens if the advertising agency that you've used for bus shelters or side of buses don't continue on in terms of, or change or cancel your order in terms of your campaign? What happens if your website goes down? You know, so we want to look at the risks involved. So if you think you've got a marketing plan there, what could go wrong? That's what we're looking at here. You know, you can use your pestle analysis, you could use your SWOT analysis for this as well. But what could go wrong? And if it went wrong, what would you do? So, for example, I'm now forever going out with my phone. I swore I would never use Apple Pay, and now I don't bring my stuff, anything else out with me. And therefore, I am now having to have a contingency plan of actually putting another card in my handbag. So what can go wrong, and how would you deal with that if it went wrong? Again, SWOT, these are the tools and techniques. We've talked about this. Pestle, political, economic, technological, legal, and environmental. Okay, so 2.1, critically analyze the components of a marketing plan and the levels of importance of each component to the achievement of strategic objectives. So we need to review your work and research in 1.3. So what is your marketing plan? What are the risks involved? Further critically analyzing the sectional component parts of the marketing plan. Evaluate the critical sections of the plan, those that may make greater contributions to the whole towards meeting established strategic marketing objectives. So what we need to do there is make sure that within your strategic objectives, what parts of your marketing plan are aligned with those. So you need to go through the strategic objectives of your organization. If you have a scenario where you aren't in an organization, then I would take a local company that is 50 to 150 employees, strategic objectives, and use those as a mark or guide in terms of what you might use in your. So what it's saying there is, if you have a marketing plan and your marketing department's in level 1, rooms 6, 7, and 8 in a building, there's no point in that marketing team going off and doing a whole campaign on its own. Might be brilliant, marketing plan might be awesome, but if it doesn't meet the strategic directives or the objectives of the organization, then you're not meeting your marketing strategic objectives. Okay, so it's the same with if we were looking at processing, or we were looking at product development or innovation. It all has to tie back in to your strategic objectives of the organization. These all have to be aligned, or they each cog within that machine of that organization are not complementing each other, and therefore it won't work. So you need to look at those. How, if your strategic objective is to, as a charity, help all children under 16 improve their mental health through exercise, then how does your marketing meet that strategic objective? You know, are you ensuring that you have a diverse marketing campaign? Are you tackling the parents, guardians, educationalists, the children themselves? Is it the right content? Are you using TikTok? Are you using Instagram? Are you using traditional marketing? You know, are you advertising in geographically the right place? Are you advertising the right product? Because your strategic objective might be that, but the product with the benefit of that might be weekly exercise and yoga and mindfulness classes throughout your geographical area. So that is your product that will meet the strategic objectives. And you need to make sure that your strategic marketing is aligned with that strategic objective. Okay. Address mitigation strategies for high-risk components of the plan. So we identified what can go wrong, okay? But now we need to look at what is likely to go wrong, or which is the highest risk. So you can do that through a risk assessment plan. So review the high-risk sections of the marketing plan and evolve or justify appropriate strategies and tactics to reduce, keep in check, or design out altogether as appropriate to your scenario. Quantitative risk assessment techniques can be justified and interrogated is strongly advised here. So we need to look at quantitative risk assessment techniques. So that's where you want to look at your risk assessment plan. You might use a scoring technique. Based on the internet connections in the areas that so if your target market is people in a low income area, or with less likely to have internet access, then that is a high risk that your marketing is not going to fulfill its goal of being able to communicate to those people. If your marketing campaign is on a bus and the bus doesn't go through the areas that you need it to go through, well, then that's a high risk section of your marketing plan. Maybe if it was a radio or TV, maybe if the signal is unreliable, then you might want to decide that you need to be taken out because that's too high, and replaced with a more realistic and stronger or less risky alternative. Okay, so then you want to relook at your marketing plan that you did as a skeleton in 1.1. Develop a marketing plan that will achieve strategic objectives for a complex organization. So sometimes it can feel a wee bit in this curriculum as repetition, but just ensure that you're answering the questions. So here it's asking you to develop a marketing plan with strategic objectives. So develop a marketing plan, review your assignment, research and output thus far, so far. And for areas of the marketing plan that have all been, and for the areas of the marketing plan that have already been covered, avoiding duplication and submitting a reduction of a burden and assessment. So that is just saying, look at your 1.1 and your 1.2, review it given the information that you've gathered in 1.3, 2.1 and 2.2, and then redo the marketing plan that will have reduced the risk and be more strategically aligned to your organization. Okay, so 3.1, discuss how the plan supports strategic objectives. So here, you're asked to construct a marketing plan for a specific area within your responsibility, identify measures for evaluating the success of the plan, explain the process that is required in order to secure approval within your organization. So here, if I'm working in rental cars and I'm responsible for renting just the vans, I want to look at a marketing plan for that. I want to look at how I would measure the success of the marketing plan. So what feedback do I need to gather to ensure that the outcomes are those that are required? And then I need to make sure that if there is any weaknesses there, that I have looked at those weaknesses, and then I want to present them to my senior management team for the sake of argument. So again, a smaller marketing plan, we talked about lots of different marketing plans, and then generally an overall marketing strategy, but that very much depends on each organization. And then explain the process that is required in order to secure approval within your organization. So who is the people that you need to persuade that this is a good marketing plan for your department to make it more profitable and better for your team. 3.2, develop an approach to gain agreement for the marketing plan that will change organization actions and methods to achieve strategic objectives. So what are we looking at here? Develop an approach to gain agreement. So how do we do that? We need to persuade the senior management team that this marketing plan will help change the organization's actions and methods to achieve the strategic objectives. So if we have a marketing plan completely based on radio, and you know that it's not going to meet the strategic objectives, then you need to put forward an argument to say that you would like to go fully online to a podcast or a website. You might do a SWOT analysis on the current method, and then you might do a SWOT analysis on the proposed method, and showing how you would meet the strategic objectives within those two. So what are we looking at? What's not working in your organization? What actions and methods that don't meet the or don't communicate to the demographic that you need? They were using Facebook, and our customers are under 16 who are all on TikTok. There's a prime example. We should be advertising on TikTok for these new shoes. And that meets the strategic objectives of ensuring that we have the correct audience, which will in turn meet the strategic objectives of being fashionable for 13 to 16-year-olds within the demographic of London, something like that. So develop an approach or approaches to gain commitment and buy into your plan. It is likely that you have many factors affecting engagement, loyalty. The social ethics of your plan would be valid here. And it should be remembered that it is very important to retain commitments for the duration of the plan. So at what part of the plan would you then re-engage to ensure that your senior management team still are committed to your plan? Further, that stakeholders' positions are likely to shift during the duration of the planned life. Future learning from your plan is also a valid aspect of inclusion into your planning reviews. So what does that mean? It means that what feedback are you going to gain at what stage within your plan? Out of that feedback, what information would you hope to gain? What data would you hope to have gained? Where is the strategic objectives of your organization, might they change? Will there be new products, new services? Those are the kinds of things that if you're going to put feedback mechanisms in place, then you need to make sure that it's based on what information you want out of it. So we talked about this during the session, is I can ask you, did you enjoy the lecture? Yes. Was it too long? No. Was the content varied? Yes. But that's not really getting the information I need out of learners, for example. So I need to make sure that I'm asking the right questions, or I am using the right vehicle for feedback. And by doing that, I need to know what information I want out of that to then move forward. So we need to make sure that we're asking the right questions of the right people, or we're using feedback, or we're using customer engagement, or we're using analytics for online. And out of that, I want to know how many 13 to 16-year-olds clicked on the TikTok ad. So, or to ensure that in 6 months' time, TikTok is still the vehicle I want to use. Or if those stats come back and they're not as high as I expected them to be, then I need to go back and review my marketing plan, and I need to decide what other apps or what other methods I might look at to target that demographic. And then your last one is critically evaluate and provide review measures for the agreed plan. So we always need to critically evaluate. So we need to go through the agreed plan and we need to evaluate it. What's its strength? What's its weaknesses? What's its opportunities? What's its threats? How does it meet the strategic objectives? Is there some objectives it might not meet? If it's not going to meet them, why are we included in the marketing plan? So you need to go through your marketing plan from 2.3 and you need to critically evaluate it yourself. It can be a bit repetitive, this question, but make sure that you use a tool or method and you reference that tool or method correctly. So marketing planning is essentially built in plan, monitoring and controls. Conduct research into the concepts of monitoring and control within a marketing context. So select and apply such techniques that fit your organizational culture, size and scope of the planned activities and the level of operation. So always when you're doing these, and if you're not doing them with me, pull out the keywords, ensure that you reference them, you use SMART goals, you use pestle analysis, you use Porter forces, one of those. Make sure that you reference it and therefore it'll give you a structure to this answer. Again, it can be a wee bit repetitive. So that is the end of the content. Because we finished a wee bit earlier, I thought I would share, if I can, a video with you that might help. So this is Brian Tracy, who does a brilliant video, or does a brilliant book on time management, but he's very good on marketing strategies as well. So hopefully this is going to play for me. Okay. I want to share sound.
By the way, and who determines your market share, and who determines your profit levels, and who determines
Can somebody give me a thumbs up or something if you can hear and see that video okay? Great, thank you. If anybody is interested in time management, Brian Tracy's book, Eat the Frog, fantastic.
How fast you grow. And who determines the future of your business? I do, we do. No, you don't. Your competitors do. Your competition determines everything. Your competition determines your level of sales, the prices you charge, and how much money you make. I've done a lot of work on military strategy, and one of the great principles I learned in military strategy is that no strategy can be made independent of the enemy. In other words, you can't sit there and plan military strategy ignoring who your enemy is and where they are and how big they are and what their plans and intentions are. So no strategy in business can be made without thinking about your competition and who are they and what do they do and why do people buy from them and how can I get them to buy from me and how will they react if I get their customers. There's volumes of books in the libraries on this, and I've got them all. There's one book called Competitive Analysis. It's this big, by Michael Porter. It's about 600-800 pages, and it's all on things that you have to think about to position against competition. Big stuff. You can get PhDs in marketing focused on competitive analysis. So the 4 principles of marketing strategy are these. Number 1 is your decisions in these 4 areas. Your decisions in these 4 areas determine the success or failure of your business. The first is specialization. Specialization is determining where you are going to specialize, which we'll talk about in your product or service. And I'll talk about this, I'll define it a little bit better. The second is differentiation. Differentiation is really the key to business. And they say that all business strategy is differentiation strategy. Competitive advantage is how it is that you are different and better than your competitors. Because human beings in the marketplace, customers, always want to know why should I buy from you rather than from someone else. And you'd better give me a better reason than your competitor does, or I'll buy from your competitor. And it's not personal. It's just I want to get the very best deal. As a customer, I want to get the highest quality for the lowest price. You tell me why I should buy from you, why you are giving me the highest quality, the lowest price, and if your answer is better than that of your competitors, I'll buy from you, and if it's not, I won't. And it's not personal, no emotion involved. We get emotionally involved because it's our business. So differentiation is the key, is how and why and where are you different. Segmentation means looking at your market and saying, who are the specific customers in the market who value my area of differentiation and who will pay more for my area of specialization than anybody else. So in other words, in every marketplace, and they say that all marketing today is segmentation, is segmenting and identifying those customers who are most likely to buy from you the fastest. And finally, there's concentration. Once you have determined your very best market segment for what you do really well, what you do is you focus all your energies on them. So let's look at this. Specialization says this is the product, service, customer, market, or area of technology where you focus all your efforts. We also say in specialization, it can be a product or service, it can be a particular customer that you want to serve, or it can be a particular market area that you want to work in. I'll give you an example. McDonald's. McDonald's customer is people who want to eat quickly, and they want cleanliness, efficiency, value, price, and pleasant surroundings. And so what they will do is they will offer every product that they possibly can for people who want to eat quickly, whether it's a salad or whether it's a shake or whether it's a type of coffee or whether it's, in other words, they're constantly looking for other products that they can offer to that customer who's in that market segment, which wants to eat quickly and efficiently. And they test continually. Very clear about that. So the next one is, look at that. Oh, okay. And so differentiation is your competitive advantage, which you've heard me talk about, but you'll never hear me talk about too much. Because if you can identify and or create a competitive advantage and convey it to your customers, the dam will break. You can make more sales and more money in a year with a clear competitive advantage to your customers than you might make in a lifetime if your competitive advantage is unclear. So number 2, it's your area of excellence or superiority. It's something that you do better than anybody else. And I sometimes joke, why is your product or service better? And they say, quality of service. quality and service, quality and service. We give quality and service. And people don't understand that that is only an answer if your competitors offer zero quality and zero service. In other words, other than that, it's not an answer. If your person says, well, you should buy from us because of our quality and service, they're saying, I do not have the slightest idea why anybody should buy from me. I'm a complete idiot, and I'm a danger to my company and probably to my whole society. So it's interesting when Steve Jobs looked at the BlackBerry, looked at all the cell phones that were out there, and he sat out with his engineers, and he said, I want a phone that you can activate with one button. They said it's impossible. All these other phones have all these other buttons you turn off and on. He said, I want a phone that you can activate with one button. And he kept sending them back and sending them back until they finally came with the one button. You activate it, put in your code, and bam, you have all your apps and you're ready to go. The game is on. One button. It's never been done before in history. Can't be done, can't be done, can't be done, can't be done. I want it done. And there's the phone. He said cell phones today should not be so darn complicated to start up, use, get around, and so on. I had a BlackBerry, and to get an app on a BlackBerry, which has far fewer than Apple, is almost like you need an act of Congress to get a damn app. I mean, you know what I'm talking about? They're so hard. And you go to BlackBerry, and I go to Apple, which my family and my staff got me into. Within half an hour, I had 30 apps loaded. I mean, it's unbelievable. You're loading them one at a time. Whoa! And now you can float the whole world. And the stuff that's on there for apps, just the free apps blow your mind, much less the paid apps. And now you have 486,000 apps. Think about that. But they make it easy. So Apple says you come to us and it's easy. You can access everybody, anything, anywhere. And then they come up with the Apple II and they put that video model on it, whereas you can actually hold it up and you can talk by video to anybody anywhere in the world who has an Apple with the same facility. It's the most amazing damn thing. I mean, you look at it, it's almost like a kid. How can this be? So what is yours? And if you don't have it, you can't compete. But if you do have it, you sell 50 million sets and become the highest valued company in the world in 5 years if you can be really clear about an area of excellence that people want and will pay for. Your unique selling proposition. What is it that, and this is called your USP. Your USP is the one thing that you offer that no other competitor offers in the whole world. It's unique. What do we know about the word unique? Is it cannot be
Character modeling? Find a 3D designer today. Fiverr. Start.
Cannot be modified. It's the only adjective that cannot be modified. You can have more, and you can have greater, and you can have greatest, but you cannot have more unique, or uniquer, or less unique, or uniquest. You have only one word, unique. Each person here is unique. You are not uniquer. You are not the uniquest. You are unique because there's only one of you in the entire world. So therefore, what is your unique selling proposition? I've worked with people, have spent hours to identify this, and when they finally identified it, their business went up 500% in the next 12 months. They could not believe it. They went from struggling to living in a big home, driving a Cadillac or a Mercedes, because they finally found it, and then all of your advertising, all of your promotion, all of your work is focused on conveying that USP to your customers, getting it to them so that they are clear what it is. And if it's what customers want and value and will pay for, they will line up around the street. Remember when they brought out the iPad? Because of the iPhone, nobody really knew it was in the iPad, except it was going to be like a whole broad screen. It was going to have everything that a computer had. They lined up around the streets by the hundreds to lay $500 down. $500. I don't know about you, but I think $500 is a lot of money, wouldn't you say? $500? These are poor people with flip-flops and sandals and tractor caps willing to put their $500 down to get this, because they didn't know what it was, but it's going to be like an iPod, an iPhone with a bigger screen, plus all kinds of other capabilities. Wow. And you know what they did? They sold 25 million of them in less than a year. 25 million, and they totally changed the book retailing industry. The book retailing industry, like a ship that turned over, went from basically hardcover books in bookstores. It flipped. Now 51 to 55% of all books are being purchased as ebooks, and the reason is because of the iPad. Because iPad owners are readers, and they buy an average of 200 to 300 books in the first year. And the whole market flipped, and Borders, one of the biggest and oldest bookstores in America, went bankrupt all in less than a year when the iPad was introduced. Can you imagine? I mean, we're living in pretty turbulent times. Wouldn't you imagine a company that spent decades building was bankrupt nationwide within a year with the advent of one new technology? So what is your unique selling proposition? Theirs is convenience. You can get everything fast, everything convenient, more convenient than anyone else. Everybody tries to compete with the iPhone or the iPad. Can't do it. The Nook can't do it. The Hewlett-Packard got into it with their tablet and just quit. They just can't do it. Now, who is it? Not Samsung, but the Korean company is trying to compete and so on. But they have a unique selling proposition. So my question is, what is yours? And I'm going to ask you to answer that. What is yours? What is it that you offer that nobody else offers? Now, here's is an insight. If you're offering something that everybody else sells, let's say you're a real estate agent. What's your unique selling proposition as a real estate agent if every other real estate agent with 100 miles has same unlimited access to the MLS? What is your USP? What can it be? What could it be? What should it be? Come on. Jeez. Well, the answer is yourself. Because the product is all the same. You don't even control the product. You don't even control the marketing. Everybody else can have it. So what makes top realtors, I work with top realtors. The average realtor makes about $25,000 a year. I work with an entire room full of realtors. The average income is $833,000 a year on straight commission selling. And they all started off with nothing, and they're now at the top of their field. And some of them make several million selling homes. What's the difference? Personality. Personality, preparation, punctuality, friendliness, warmth, follow-up, notes, phone calls, contact. In other words, they make a supreme effort to build a really high-quality relationship with a home buyer or home seller so that that person will never think of going anywhere else. I know because I've worked with some of these people in buying and selling my homes, and I would never buy or sell, buy or through anybody else but these people because they are so good at what they do. And every one of them started off on the street knocking on doors and dialing for dollars and made a decision that their unique selling proposition was going to be themselves. And you, as an independent business owner, can make that decision as well. Make the decision that I'm going to take such good care of my customers would never go anywhere else. I don't have to give them blandishments or discounts. I'm going to take such good care of them that they will eagerly come back to me. So number 4 is, where are you or could you be the best? Where are you or could you be the best? And this is the great question, because everybody here has the ability to be the best at something. Everybody here has the ability to be the best at something that people will eagerly pay for and tell their friends about. And your job is to figure out what it is. Your job is to figure out what it is and then do continuous and never-ending improvement until finally people say, you know, you're the best. You are really good at what you do. You are really good. Look at Lady Gaga. I saw her at the Grammy Awards as well. I don't know anything about Lady Gaga. I've never listened to a Lady Gaga song. She came absolutely from out of nowhere. She's 25 years old. She's one of the top 10 tweeted people in the history of the world. And she made last year $60 million. And where was she? Singing in nightclubs or bars 5 years ago? And she's an incredible entertainer. And there ain't nobody like Lady Gaga. You know what I'm talking about? It's unbelievable. Why? She knew what she had. And she goes to the extreme with her dress and her appearance and everything else, and she wraps it around a good voice and just literally has taken over the world of pop music. So segmentation is, who are those customers who most appreciate your area of superiority? Who are your very best customers? You see, your best customers are really easy to sell to. They'll buy and buy again. They're happy. They like you. They come back. They bring their friends. They give you recommendations and testimonials. Whereas your worst customers, your customers from hell, you have to literally break your back to sell them anything. They complain all the time. They don't pay. When they do pay, their checks bounce. They stand back and bounce it to you like a basketball. So who are they? What are their demographics? What are their psychographics? The demographics are things that you can observe from the outside. Age, income, education, family formation. Psychographics are what motivates them. And this is where the future is in your business. And every person has psychographics, and they have a key psychographic. I'll tell you this in a second. How would you describe your perfect customer? I do this, by the way. I said, imagine that you were at a social or business gathering, and you're networking, and someone came up to you and said, look, I know a lot of people in this community. How would you describe your perfect customer? Don't tell me what your product or service is. I don't want to hear. Just tell me, who would your perfect customer be in terms of their wants, needs, age, education, income, position? And so you would have to describe your perfect customer without mentioning your product or service at all. The person would not even know what you sold. You describe the customer. This is what this person is. This is where they are. Give you an example. IBM at one time had 80% of the world computing market. 80%. Then they made some mistakes. And now they have much less. But they had 80%. They had so much that the federal government tried to break them up for about 13 years. They brought antitrust suits against IBM just like they tried to break up Microsoft. Finally, Reagan came into power. They started in 1970. In 1983, was brought to Reagan's attention. They said the federal government has been pursuing IBM in $50 million, $100 million lawsuits for 13 years. And what did they come up with? People buy IBM because they really like IBM, and IBM treats them really well. They said, well, if they can't come up with something on IBM, they have to drop the lawsuit. And they said, we can't come up with anything. The antitrust is supposed to be in favor of protecting customers. IBM's customers love them worldwide. Then drop the suit. They dropped the suit after 13 years. They did the same thing with Microsoft. They harassed them and harassed them and harassed them because they weren't giving enough political contributions. That was the major reason. They weren't giving enough political contributions. Finally, after years, they had to say, why do people buy Microsoft? Because they like the product. The product is good, and it's cheap, and it's flexible, and everything. So how would you describe your perfect customer? The point I was making with IBM is IBM realized that when they first started selling the 360 mainframe in 1964, the customer was really the president of the company making a major strategic decision: are we going to put everything in our company on computers? Because everything was paper at that time, you know. And so they would have to make their presentations to the senior executives of the company and work out all the numbers and so on. But as computers became more and more popular and they started to have PCs and desktops and so on, the whole decision-making shifted to the purchasing manager of the large companies. And so they had to focus and change all of their marketing so it focused it on purchasing managers. And they learned more about how purchasing managers think and walk and talk and eat and breathe and communicate, and where they're educated and the size of their family and their income and their psychographics and demographics. And they focused all of their effort on purchasing managers and became the biggest selling company in the world, 80% of the world market, because they knew their customer. I hope I'm making a point here. Many people, you say, describe your customer to me without mentioning your product or service. They go, huh? Well, somebody wants it? Duh. All right.
Imagine if manufacturing automation was simple. Introducing Vention. One platform to design.
So demographics, here are the key demographics. And by the way, if you don't know these, find out. What we do, you know how we find out? Do surveys. Ask your customers, offer them a prize if they'll fill in the blanks. Age, gender, that's important. Income, how much do they earn? Education, how well educated are they? Occupation, what sort of work do they do? Location, where do they live, and so on. And family status. Those are the main demographic features. And you've got to be very clear, because if you change the demographics of your customer, you change your total marketing approach, your selling approach, your packaging, your product, your service, your people, and everything else. Now, your psychographics are even more important, and this is really neat, is what are their goals and ambitions? Because remember, people are motivated to buy because you offer to help them achieve a goal that they have. Or, what are their wants and needs and motivations? They're motivated to buy because they have a need for what you're selling. And what are their hopes and dreams and aspirations? Where do they want to be in the future? And can your product or service help them get there? And 4, what are their fears or doubts or worries? Here's one of the great breakthrough discoveries for me in the last few years, is there's always one reason why people will buy from you. There's one major reason, and you have to find out what it is and convince the prospect that you can give them that benefit. There's always one major fear that will hold them back. There's always one major doubt that holds them back from buying, and you must find out what that is and alleviate it. You've got to do both in every sale. What's the major reason? How does Brendan alleviate the fear of making a mistake of going to his program? How does he do that? Yes, not only that, not only is the entire fee is refundable, he'll pay your airfare and your hotel, and he does, by the way. He'll pay your airfare and hotel for coming just to not waste your time, because he's so confident in the value of his program. So in other words, he's making it a risk-free thing for you to do. What is the biggest risk that you have with Brendan's terms and conditions? That you'll really like it and won't want your money back. And you'll be out the money that you had paid because you really enjoyed it because you got your money's worth. Geez, that's a real tough downside. And number 5 is, what is the problem to be solved? We call this PTBS, 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 problem to be solved, problem to be solved, problem to be solved. People buy your product or service because they've got a problem to be solved, like a parrot. Problem to be solved, problem to be solved, problem to be solved. And a goal unachieved is a problem unsolved. A need unsatisfied is a problem unsolved. A pain not taken away is a problem unsolved. This is the focus of your business. What is the problem that you solve for your customers when they use your product or service? And you must know that with crystalline clarity. You know, like that in the movie with Tom, was it Not a Perfect Gentleman? You know the movie I'm talking about with Tom Cruise and yeah, not Risky Business. With Jack. Yeah, what does he say when he says, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" And he looks into the camera. He says, "Crystal." Right? That is what I'm saying crystal clear. He says it's crystal. Well, you must be crystal when you're clear, when you're thinking about what it is you do for your customer. And all your advertising, all your promotion, all your business is based around conveying that crystal to your customers so they understand crystal. You know how a cafe advertises on the side of the freeway or the highway? You're going down the road, you see a great big, it doesn't say mom and pop's best-selling meatloaf and family cooked food and come and visit us sometime. It says a big sign that says hungry, question mark, and the next one says turn at the next exit for the best food on the highway. In other words, they first of all get your attention, because if you're hungry, what happens? Hungry. You'll see that. It's reciprocal. Your reticular activating system will see that. You'll see that word hungry. Now it's got your attention. The next sign is turn here for food. You want food? Turn now. Real simple. So concentration is the fourth part. Concentration is where you focus your time, money, and resources. Remember the old saying, 50% of my advertising is wasted, but I don't know which 50% it is. Well, maybe 80%, 90% of advertising and promotional dollars are wasted. And if you can just increase the efficiency of your advertising by focusing your message with greater clarity on your best customers, you can get 5 and 10 times the response per dollar of advertising that you were getting before. So what are the best possible ways to contact your ideal customer? And this is moving very quickly today. It's shifting all the time. Second of all, what are the best possible media for you to use? Most of you use the internet exhaustively, but the internet is only one method of communication, and it's still small relative to all the other forms of advertising and promotion. I have a friend who does $35 million a year with radio ads, 60 to 120-minute radio ads to get people to phone a number where then they are interviewed and then sold into another telephone call where they are introduced to a product which takes them to another telephone call. That's $35 million a year with radio ads. So there's all kinds of ways. Imagine if you could run an ad, 60 seconds, and how do you test an ad? We're working with one of the top companies in the country. They develop an ad, they narrate the ad, they are happy with the ad, and then they run the ad in a tiny market, a small town. They pay $5,000, get 50 spots, and see what kind of response rate they get. They will run the ads 5 days a week. They'll run one ad on Monday, one ad on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and 5 different ads, and they'll see which one causes the phones to ring. And then they'll take that and they'll run it in New York. And what works in Podunk is going to work in New York at 100 times the scale. In other words, they debug the system, get a nice ad. And what if you could have an ad that would cause qualified people to phone you all day long? Phone you and call you and say, please, 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 sell me your product or service. I've got my credit card handy. Is that possible? Say yes. It's being done all the time. Do you ever listen to radio? Those people are not advertising for fun. They're advertising because they're making a lot of money doing it.
Hi everyone. Thanks for tuning into your virtual Backstage Pass. You just watched Brian explain the 4 keys of marketing strategy. Which ones will you be implementing? We want you to share what you...
Okay, folks, so that is the end of the lesson today. If you need anything, please contact me on LinkedIn or the number in the box, and I will, or sorry, the email address in the box. you will get a copy of the both sessions, and I will hopefully see you next time. Take care. Bye now.